Madam Ambassador, first of all, thank you for talking to Diplomatic Connections.
Thank you. Opportunity.
Secondly, I want to start by asking you about the last August's African Leaders Conference, which brought 50 leaders here to the African Summit.
Mm-hmm.
What is your view that the gathering accomplished? I mean, what exactly came out of it?
Yeah, of course, let me start by saying that was the historic summit. It had never happened. That the President of the United States convenes his fellow leaders from Africa and bring them to Washington. It was a summit that was advocated for some time, because as you know, there have been a lot of summits, Africa, China, Africa, Turkey. So I think it was high time that the African leaders get to engage on one-on-one with the with the U.S. president. So by coming to Washington, I think the main objective was to see how best you can engage, have a platform to engage the U.S. administration, but also engage the U.S. Business community. And this is what happened. Because when the summit was being organized, nobody was actually sure how it's going, what will be the format, what will be the agenda. But we think also the U.S. administration, the Obama, decided that they cannot dictate an agenda to the African leaders, that it should be a participatory process, that let's discuss what we want to talk about. And he came up with an agenda that was quite good for Africa, because it focused on investing in the future of Africa. So, and it had a focus which, of course, most of our leaders really wanted, that you cannot come all the way to Washington just for a photo opportunity and for political statements. And the way it was formatted, that was what they had sought. It was in two maybe segments. One was between President Obama and the leaders, but also engagement with the CEOs, the big CEOs of big top-notch companies. And they had a forum, a business forum, but also it gave opportunity to showcase our countries. Because like if I speak for Tanzania, we had an all-day session on doing business in Tanzania. And this was organized together with the Corporate Council on Africa. So it was quite a summit of its kind. It is, for me, I had attended many summits, but this one was quite unique. Unique that it was not the usual where you have the summits, they prepare them before, and then when they come, it's just endorse.
Yes.
Yes, but this one was everybody else, everything for everybody. If you wanted to engage with diplomatic connection one-on-one, because that's important, you go engage the media, get Africa to tell their own story, but with you. Right. Because you always say, you cannot tell the story for us, but you can tell the story with us. Right. So bringing the leaders here, those that who were able to use the opportunity, really gave the narrative that the Americans.
But what did your country gain from it?
Our country,
other than you were able to perhaps contact, senior industrial and commercial leaders in this country.
We gained on two fronts. As I said, it was on government to government, leaders to leaders. There were a number of initiatives that President Obama had launched. In fact, he launched them during his visit to last summer in Tanzania and other African countries. So after his launching, for example, the Power Africa initiative, or a Trade for Africa initiative, and the Partnership for Growth, these have been very big initiatives, but then the issue was how are they going to be implemented? So by coming here, because Tanzania is the beneficiary of the few countries that have been selected as beneficiaries of Power Africa, this meaning getting access to electricity, after the launching, then there was no mechanism in place to be able to see how we can be able to access the funding that was pledged. It's about what, 7 billion US dollars. So by coming here, the takeaway was we came up with first of all, signing the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, in terms of implementation of the Power Africa. This was between Tanzania and the MCC, because this Millennium Challenge Compact, I think
the MCC being, sorry?
It's Millennium Challenge Compact, yes. There will be in the US Embassy in Dar es Salaam, and there is also, I think, I don't know how they call it, but Power Africa Coordination Office, which is in Johannesburg. They all came here so that we can get started. So this was one of the big takeaways. But also another big takeaway, remember we have been in negotiations about extending the AGOA. This is the Africa Growth Opportunity Act that was launched during President Clinton's time, 2000, and it is due to expire in 2015. This is next year. So this AGOA, in short we call it AGOA, gave preferential treatment to African products to find markets in the US, without paying tariffs. So, but then we have been getting the Congress to understand and get it extended for another maybe 15 years, 20 years. This summit helped us to make a case.
Right.
And now, after this midterm election, we hope the Congress will be able now to have it on its agenda to get this extended before it expires.
So the objective is to actually extend this
Yes.
this act,
Yeah.
which gives preferential treatment, trade preferential treatment to all African countries?
I mean, there's few, you have to qualify, you have to have the number of criteria,
I see.
but a good number now, they have already joined.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, I think, than 40 countries in this program. Another area was which was also on the agenda, high on the agenda, was the issue of peace and security. And our message to the US government was we have to help in our partnership, to help us build the capacity for Africa to be able to maintain its peace, to be able to put up peacekeeping missions, which Africa is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we were saying, we cannot, again, you cannot do it for us, but you can do with us.
Mm-hmm.
So by coming here, the President Obama announced a good, I don't know the exact amount because it differed from the report we got, but then he committed another funding to help us build the capacity for peacekeeping operations in Africa. And Tanzania, has deployed.
Yes, that was going to be my
Yes.
question. Tanzania has been quite active in deploying peacekeeping forces.
Yes.
Where have you been most recently?
We've been in Congo. This is the DRC, Eastern Congo. We have joined forces with the UN peacekeeping operation. They call it Special Brigade,
Mm-hmm.
Operation Brigade. This is to weed out the rebel forces in Eastern DRC.
Right.
And we are in Darfur. We are in Lebanon. As far as Lebanon,
Really?
yeah. So of course, they would want us to be in South Sudan. They wanted us everywhere, but they said, of course, our capacity to deploy, especially when it is rapid deployment, we don't have that capacity. So then this is the US government would be working with us to see how they can help us build this capacity, but also through the African Union, because now, of course, it's the African Union that is the overall in charge of deploying this peacekeeping operation.
But the plan, I think, from the American point of view, is to actually train a rapid deployment force
Yes.
of African nations,
Yes.
including, of course, yourselves.
Yes, because we have special regional brigades that for rapid deployment. But also, it's not only deployment; it's deployment of the forces, but also the equipment.
Right.
We need the equipment and even communication equipment. So this is what there was one of the takeaways.
Well, Africa has 6 of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Tanzania, of course, has a 7% growth, I believe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And yet, in the public perception, Africa is still thought of as a desperate charity case, at least in the perception of much of the public.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think this is?
Yeah, in fact, that is the mindset and the perception we need to change. And we hope that after this summit, maybe the mindset is changing a bit, because unfortunately we had that history of as a continent which is known for conflicts, for misery. When we are progressing, then Ebola hits us. So that is what makes news here. The good news, like even what you are covering, that's why I'm happy that I gave you this opportunity, so that you can be able to change that the narrative, the negative, if you feel historically, because the continent, you know, most of the countries in Africa are only 50 plus years. It's still a young continent,
Yes.
but the continent that was colonized, the continent that inherited some of the countries inherited nothing, not even what you can call a nation state. So all these years has been trying to build nations, to build the states, to build infrastructure, to build the communities. So when something strikes, that's when it makes news. But then I must say, I hope with time, the American public will be able to be told what is really the reality on the ground. Because most of all, what is used to make news here, it has changed. It has changed. 3/4 at least of the countries in Africa, they have recorded the fastest economic growth. Still, of course, again, it's we call it a treasure hub of the natural resources.
Right.
It has all what any even is American want to offer.
But one still thinks of it as Africa, whereas indeed, you're talking about individual countries developing in an individual way.
Yes.
Some of them faster than others, some of them more successfully than others. How does one, as an African nation, project oneself as an individual nation, separate from this whole sort of collective thinking that we have about it?
Yeah, this is what in fact I would also appreciate that because of course when you look at Africa, then I always say that don't paint Africa with the same brush.
Yeah.
These are different countries, different histories. We are all put together because of the history, as I said, because there was a scramble for Africa. The way that Africa was partitioned. So it was like you came in the same pot, but then emerged as different entities.
Yes.
Yes. But then to make the country be seen as unique, like in Tanzania, you showcase the good things. Because like Tanzania now is known as a model in terms of good governance, in terms of the stability, in terms of being the most peaceful country, in terms of now the economic opportunities, in terms of their natural heritage. So we're saying, like, I'm here, people ask me about Africa. I said, of course, it will take me almost whole month to talk about Africa because these are different countries. But we have also some similarities. That's why when
Sure.
But for Tanzania, you cannot be known if you don't have something to show, something good to show, because this is what makes people pay attention. Of course, they will pay attention also when there are miseries.
Yes.
But then to show Tanzania uniqueness.
Right.
One is what you see of Tanzania is one about the unity. It's the most unified country in Africa. We speak, we have 120 tribes or maybe plus, which geographically will not communicate with each other. These are different languages. But then with our forefather, the founding father, he was quite a visionary leader, and he said, how do I govern such a country? So he decided that let's me introduce only one language, because by then even English, I mean the English, by the time at our time of the independence, we had only 2% of the population which had gone to school. Yes, so if he said if I introduce English, who's going to teach it? The British are gone. So he said, let me introduce this language which was already prominent along the coast, and introduce it to the whole country.
Which was?
Swahili.
I see. So is it the official language now?
It is not now. It is the official language, and in fact, the way he introduced it, it became the first, even the medium of instruction in schools. Yeah, and the English became the second language. But this was the only way he could get the Tanzanians to speak to each other. And even the school system was such that if you come from the northeast, I come from the northwest, I go to school to the south. And the south, they go to the central part. And so it was even the public servants were transferred around one day, yes, so that to bring together the country together. And with, of course, I said it maybe was also saying that our diversity is our strength. So train from each other, our cultures, but be able to speak one language. And this is what has made Tanzania to be one. And also, of course, another one to join, I mean, to have a union, Tanganyika and Zanzibar. This is the only surviving union in Africa, if not in...
You are, at the moment, your country is working on a new constitution, which I gather will be, in fact, launched in next year, in 2015. Why was there need for a new constitution, and what essentially makes it different from the old constitution?
Yeah, because you know, the constitution we had from the time of our independence, and then it was amended with time. So it was like you have a piece of amendments. So it was not like a coherent kind of a constitution.
In other words, there was a post-colonial constitution which was, in effect, done in London.
Yeah, it's not like what is the Zimbabwe's and the others, Rhodesia. It was we didn't even have a constitution then. They had to make it to have a constitution, which was a party. We started with a party constitution that fought for independence, and then was transformed to a national constitution. But it was not a process that involved all the citizens.
I see.
Yes. So now, that's why they say with the liberalization, the political liberalization, economic liberalization, with the new wave of democracy, the multi-party system that was introduced in 1992. So I said now it is time that we have a constitution that will take into account the transformation of the country, but also that will involve all the citizens to participate in its making. And this is the process that is ongoing. It started with having a special commission to gather views, and then came up with the drafts, and then they constituted what they call Constituent Assembly. Went through it. It completed its work last month, October 4th. Now the constitution, the draft is ready to go for referendum. So it will be put to the referendum to the people next year, maybe hopefully in April. And then after the referendum, when if it's adopted by the majority, then it will be now the new constitution.
You're going to require a referendum for this in order to approve it. I see.
Yes. Yeah.
And among other things, it redefines the powers of the presidency. It actually, I think, also says a great deal about women.
Oh, yeah, of course. The key element in all whatever is being done, of course, the women. You cannot, if you have to have inclusive, develop inclusive growth, inclusive political system, of course, the women is the key.
Right.
But then it looks also into the structure of the government, the union government, the powers of the presidency, because in terms of the members of parliament and the cabinet members, so all these things now are being spelled out maybe more clearly.
You have a presidential system
Yes,
with a prime minister
the prime minister, yes.
and the cabinet, obviously.
Yeah, we have a cabinet and then we have a vice president.
I see.
And the structure is such that if the president is from the mainland Tanzania, the vice president is from Zanzibar.
I see.
Yeah.
Right. And the relationship with Zanzibar is also going to be redefined?
This is what in fact it took a long time to see how this would be harmonized, because with time the Zanzibar has evolved into being more of autonomous, having maybe an autonomous kind of government in Zanzibar. So now it's the issue was how do we harmonize now the relationship in terms of governance of the two government entities. And also there are some, because at the time of the union, there were areas that were union matters, but there are also areas that were just Zanzibar and mainland. So now the constitution will make it, I hope whatever will come out, that it will make it clear how this cell of issues.
What proportion of the population is in Zanzibar?
Of course, Zanzibar now, the population is about 1 million now.
In Zanzibar?
In Zanzibar, yes.
And the rest
and
of the
country? The rest of the country is
about
45.
Oh, 40, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was so
45.9
much. Oh, I see.
0.9
Yes, yes.
million.
But so it's not actually the fact that Zanzibar has a great large population. What is it that gave Zanzibar this privileged position?
It's, I don't know whether it's a privileged position, but
Different.
given the history of Zanzibar and also the history of Tanganyika, with our forefathers, I must say our presidents found that you cannot leave Zanzibar on its own,
Right.
given again the history. So he said you have to bring it in the fold
I see.
of Tanganyika. So by bringing it in the fold, it was not like it is, because Zanzibar also fought for the independence, the revolution. So it was not like you are merging Zanzibar and therefore imposing Tanganyika on Zanzibar, but joining together so that you can be able to, so to speak, like providing protection to Zanzibar.
I see.
So to speak, yes, because by then, of course, Zanzibar was like very vulnerable. And the two leaders thought there is a lot that we can do together.
Have you been to Zanzibar?
Of course.
Well, I mean, does one normally go to Zanzibar a great deal? I know it's a lovely island, and in fact it's a tourist.
Oh yeah,
it's
I mean,
a great tourist attraction.
Yeah, it is a historical. I mean, the history of you can never find it. They have preserved it.
Right.
Yeah. It is, I mean, going to Zanzibar, I mean, you know, the business and the people to people every day. I mean, if you come to now, you will see that, of course, even the vessels that pass between Zanzibar and Tanzania, you have business people, you have people working in Zanzibar, living in mainland, so there's,
I see.
yeah, a lot of movement.
What, in your view, are the major challenges facing your country today?
The major challenge, despite, I must say that despite all these very impressive statistics on economic growth, the country is still one of the poorest. The poverty levels, they're still high. So the challenge is how do we alleviate this poverty? There have been, because we've been working with in partnership, of course, with these institutions, the World Bank, be the US government, be the United Nations. They just change names: poverty eradication, poverty alleviation, poverty reduction. Now, this time we are saying ending poverty.
I see.
We have to say end of poverty. We cannot be changing names. And so that's why now the intervention, both at the government level, but also with our partners, that we cannot see breaking even with poverty, doing away with poverty, if we don't invest where people are. Because the majority of the Tanzanians are in rural areas. In rural areas, the country is predominantly agricultural country, society, but then there's very little investment in agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been an awakening, and the government has adopted this, what we call agriculture first, and the rest follows. Then that's when we believe we will see Tanzania emerge as a middle economy country by the vision is 2025, but to modernize agriculture. And so as the majority of the people can be able to go beyond subsistence.
But there is an effort to urbanize the population, is there not?
No.
I mean, is there much of a drift?
There is a lot of cause of urbanization, but then in fact, this is a new concept of having a mega cities.
Right.
That
exactly.
yes, urbanization should not be taken as an affront. It could be maybe a solution.
Right.
Because
that's
like
what I mean.
because like here, where you talk rural area, which is a rural area.
Mm.
Yeah, people in Iowa, it's a rural place, but it's also urban.
Right.
So if you can be able to bring this level of development in those areas, then call it urban, call it rural transformation. This is how we can be able to get out of poverty.
And there's
And
also
provide all the facilities that are needed, be access to electricity, access to roads, all the infrastructure, health facilities, that every ordinary Tanzanian can be able to access. As we see here, people take it for granted. Yeah, so this is where all the efforts now is geared.
you mentioned electricity, and apparently that is still a problem.
Still a problem, but we have seen again another evolution because by last year, only 20% of the population had access to electricity. Our target was that by 2015, we should have at least 30% of the population that has access to electricity. But surprisingly, by this year, because of this intervention I'm talking about, we are now 36% of the population that has access to electricity. It is still very small, but then they leapfrogging.
Right.
So we're hoping by 2025, we'll have almost maybe the whole country has access to electrification. As I mentioned, with the Medium Challenge Compact, it's it's a good money, but you want to put it into the rural electrification. Right. Because there's no country that can develop when it is in darkness.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that we are directing to the rural. 75% of our population are still in rural area in darkness.
Right.
But also, if you have to generate the economy, then you have to generate also to have industrialization. You cannot have industrialization if you have no energy.
But I understand that you've also found in your area, you now have found, is it oil or gas? I can't remember which.
It is gas.
It is gas.
But they say where there is gas, there is oil.
Yes.
But we have massive discovery of gas. Right. It's about 50 trillion.
Is it offshore or on land?
Both.
Both.
And now, of course, we have the big multinational companies who are exploring. Right. We are yet to get it, but already the infrastructure is in place. We have a pipeline because most of the gas, gas has been
building a pipeline
from the south, that is Mtwara, to the north, to Dar es Salaam commercial capital. This is about 576 kilometers of pipeline. We are also now in the process of building LNG offshore and onshore. And so everything is now being put in place, training our own people, because this is quite a new area. And it is quite overwhelming on us. And the good thing also, what we managed to get during the summit is to get our people to come for training in various universities. We had our young, this was a program of the Young African Leaders Initiative. We have Tanzanian, about 20 Tanzanians were here, attached to different institutions, universities. So the government is gearing up to take advantage of this new discovery, and we don't want to then to ensure that it's not a curse.
What was the state of bilateral trade with the United States last year?
Yeah, we have, I must say that the trade numbers have grown. Let me look at the exact numbers, but we have had some good trade, but it is still, as I say, one-way trade. More the American, because they are trading in the machinery, the food.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the investment. Yeah, because I was saying from 2008 to 2012, exports grew from US dollars 55.1 million to 11.6 million. These are the exports, US exports to Tanzania.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. 55.1 million?
55.1 million
Yes.
to 115.6 million.
Oh, 115, yes, okay.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. Well, but to put it in perspective, your trade with China was 2.7 billion over the same, last year. China has expanded its role significantly in Africa, but also in your country, particularly in your country in many ways. After all, it was in your country that the original Chinese railway was built, was it not? This is back in the 60s?
70s.
In the 70s. Do you feel that, and so, the Chinese have leapt forward, whereas the US has had other problems on its mind, Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. Do you think the US needs to push more aggressively in Africa?
This is what has been our message. You said they need really, it's catching up. I would say you're being left behind. And
Yes.
I think that this is what they have also realized, that they need to engage Africa. Because I don't think there is any other continent or any countries in other areas that has such a big potential as Africa. If you spoke about the resources, the gas, whether it's agriculture,
Right.
where it's what. So this is what we've been telling the Americans. We're saying, you don't blame the Chinese. Because the Chinese are going where the opportunities are going where the resources are. But our relations with China, it didn't start yesterday. We call our relations all-weather friends.
Right.
The Chinese were there during the most difficult times. The Chinese have been there with us. So you remember when we had these liberation struggles
Sure.
during the apartheid, when everybody was abandoning us, when Tanzania was going through very difficult economic times, the Americans abandoned us, I must say. They didn't want to do business with us because they thought we were going communists.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, for China, it's not now, it's not today. No, they already had a big footprint in Tanzania.
Right.
Yeah, politically, economically, socially, it's so it is not new. And when you go by the statistics in terms of foreign direct investment, China is not leading. It's the UK, the British. Who,
Really?
yes, they are leading, because so with this gas discovery, you have the British gas that has invested enormously in this gas industry.
Oh, I see.
They are everywhere. Then you have, China is not even second in terms of foreign direct investment. You have the
French, maybe?
No, the French, they are still far. No, you have the South Africans,
All right.
you have the Kenyans, you have the Germans, the Netherlands. Yeah, so China is somewhere, but it's not leading. So I was saying, people are getting nervous about China, but if at all the Americans don't come, the Chinese are coming big number, even with this, the pipeline, the gas pipeline I was talking
Yes.
about, because the Americans never wanted to allow it. I don't know why people, I mean, in America, they fear these pipelines. But we didn't have a way. How do we transport? You know, that country is also big. How do you get that resources to be able to reach the rest of the country?
Right.
Yeah. So the Chinese gave us a loan. It's not even a grant of 1.2 billion to be able to build that pipeline. And that's how we got started. And now everybody's saying, "Oh, why are Chinese?" I mean, where do if you don't do it for us, and you don't want us to get the Chinese? So what do we do? Yeah, but it's not for us. It's not either or. No, it's not. It's not China and then or US. We want both. And there are areas where they are open, like I was talking about the MCC, which you are not. They put in this was President Bush's time.
Right.
Yes, he put in $698 million for Tanzania, the biggest grant they had given to any country, to Tanzania, to be able to develop our infrastructure, the roads, energy, the water supply.
Right.
This was big money, but none of the American companies tendered to this money.
I see.
No, not a single American company. Because they were still, oh no, we can't. The Chinese tendered. The Dutch tendered. All this money, there was no single American company.
Right.
You see, it is American money, the Chinese use it, and then you can blame the Chinese.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was a very transparent tendering process, international. That's why you got the Dutch, you got the others, but the US was still skeptical.
What sort of relationship do you have with the other countries in the region?
Oh, we have excellent relations because, as I said, Tanzania has been a leader in terms of helping others, because we have had the most stable and peaceful country throughout our 50 years. We have never been at war. And Tanzania was a champion for the liberation struggles, champion for the anti-apartheid campaign, but also for the countries that have been at war, like the Congo, Burundi, Rwanda. Tanzania has provided safe haven for the refugees, but also has been facilitating the peace negotiations, because we don't believe in military solutions. So we've been bringing all these factions to the negotiation table. And this was why I was also appointed to head this peace process, to be able to change the image and the narrative of the region. And Tanzania is already, even with Sudan, I was also surprised that for the South Sudan, they have been in Ethiopia, but things didn't work out. They came to Tanzania only 2 weeks ago, and that's where they signed an agreement.
That's why they signed an agreement.
Yes,
That's right.
yeah.
Yes.
So we still provide that, and it's good that all the countries, our neighboring countries in Africa, they recognize Tanzania's place and leadership in many issues, including even on this, the new one is climate change.
Right.
Our president is the chair of the Committee of the Heads of State on Climate Change, and is a spokesperson on climate change. This is an area where Tanzania never thought to take a lead. So I must say that Tanzania is blessed, but it's because of our leadership. We have had good leadership. Yeah. And now we are on the fourth phase of government, very peaceful. We respect the rule of law, the constitution, 2 terms, no more.
Right.
Yeah. And nobody even attempt even to change. People, when you are hearing about the constitution, changing the constitution, said maybe we want to increase the term of the presidents. That one, nobody even debated about it.
Right.
It is,
right.
And this is what has made Tanzania to be what it is. Even our first president didn't have a constitution that was limiting his term. But when it came, the wind of change, he said, I think this is time to go. Yeah, willingly. So because what we see now, it's very, very sad, what we see in Burkina Faso. Yeah, but this is what Tanzania has avoided. And when you're talking of what will make Tanzania unique, these are the things that make unique. Tanzania stand out as unique. It's not about the rhetoric, but you show.
So far Tanzania has escaped the Ebola epidemic. although there has been a report out of Oxford University last month, I think, that basically says that you and other African countries are in danger of being affected by it. What have you done that prevents it from crossing your border?
Yeah, in fact, I must say, of course, it is sad again that we had Ebola hit our continent. The Tanzania and other countries in the eastern part, the Ebola starting in the west, Africa, which is quite a bit far from Tanzania, gave us time to prepare.
Right.
Yeah, just to prepare, put the preventive mechanism in place. We have put already at the airport, the screening is done as you arrive, but also the places that have been reserved in case you are suspected of having the Ebola conditions. So they are already put in place some medical facilities where you can put somebody in isolation. The government at all levels is now seized with the situation. First of all, sensitization to educate the masses, because what has happened in the West Africa, especially like countries like in Sierra Leone, it's people not knowing exactly what it is, what this is, to educate people. So now it is now that we have put in place a very big program to sensitize people that if you see anything, you see any symptoms, this is what it is. Or if at all there is a victim, this is what you should do. So this is what I think will help Tanzania. But we know the mobility of people. I have my twin sister who was in Sierra Leone with the UN.
Really?
They were in this operation. But now, because they have been going, I mean, for the last 5 months, they have never slept. It was taking a toll on them.
Sure.
Now the UN decided that they should take a break. Now it's going back to Tanzania. But then to get to Tanzania, they went around the world because there was no flight. There was only Brussels there, but he was not allowed to take anybody to them, but get them to Turkey, I think from Turkey to, I don't know, Cairo, from Cairo to, so it took 3 days to get to Tanzania.
I see.
But when she arrived, because saying I was in Sierra Leone, immediately she was tested. Yeah. So then she was saying, oh no, but I was using Tanzania passport. Because she used Tanzania passport. But then you have to say where you got from. He said, if I lied, I would have said I'm from Brussels. But he said, no, I wanted to see that I'm safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they tested her. She was fine.
Good. That's good news.
So that's good news. And of course, for me now, I can sleep. Because I was always constant on what's happening. When I don't hear from her, I know maybe could be a victim.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, at least in terms of preparedness, Tanzania, as at least this has given time to Tanzania to prepare for any eventuality.
One other thing is Tanzania still a member of the British Commonwealth?
Oh, yes.
And what does that mean in the 21st century?
This is, again, we say this the wave of reform has also gone to the Commonwealth, because every summit of the Commonwealth is the agenda, it's the relevance. Is it Commonwealth is still relevant?
Yeah.
But then I think they found that it is relevant because it is one of the few organizations that brings countries from the developed, less developed, from the west, the east, the south. So they think it is still a good family of nations that as held together, there's still a lot to share because of our history, but also using the same framework to be able to advance the new agenda for development.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to advance the new agenda for good governance, for democratic governance. Because now, if at all any member of the Commonwealth if at all there's a military coup, military change. So it's isolated until you hold regular elections, then you are brought back. So it's like a peer review. It's a peer group. Yeah. So it's going beyond the symbolic nature of meeting the Queen, and then that's it. But now they are they are working on very fundamental issues. That define the nations of today.
And it does actually span all the way from, I don't know, Canada one end to...
Exactly, yes.
So
now even countries that have was not even British colonized, they wanted to join and they have been allowed, like Mozambique. Mozambique has joined, Rwanda has joined.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they are opening up even for those countries that they speak more, they want to speak more English than the Portuguese.
The Anglosphere, yes.
Yeah, because nowadays, I mean, you don't speak English, you don't get anywhere. Even the French, they speak more English than the French nowadays.
We don't talk about that.
Don't quote me.
One of the commitments the U.S. made when President Obama was in your country, I believe, was to help with the fight against wildlife trafficking by sophisticated poaching syndicates that kill elephants and rhinoceroses in order to sell the tusks and horns. Has that been put into operation?
And in fact, one of the takeaway from this Africa summit, US summit, was this special session on wildlife and anti-poaching. This was chaired by the Minister of Home Affairs, what do they call them?
What, you mean in this country, you mean?
In this country.
Oh yes, you mean the Secretary of the Interior.
The Secretary of Interior, because we call them Home Affairs. Secretary of Interior. He engaged, of course, all the affected countries, Gabon, Tanzania, Botswana, South Africa, Benin, all of them. And then also bringing the stakeholders on the part of the US government. I didn't know for the first time that you had a department that has wildlife, fisheries, they said, well, you see, scouting, I don't know what, in one.
That's the intent. You see, this is quite different from the definition of the Ministry of the Interior in any other country.
Exactly.
In any other country, it means police and protect. No, and here it means forests,
forestries,
parks,
fisheries,
Boy Scouts.
Yes, Boy Scouts, and because the president was saying, how does the home secretary from hostels from this wildlife, how does they come in? So that's when we come to realize that these are our partners in this. So that's what I'm saying. This helped us to see who we should engage. Who we should engage in this.
Okay. All right, fine.
And the US, of course, is also helping us also get the Chinese, the market. Because if we don't deal with the demand, then I think however much we want to be able to succeed in this way. But also the criminal element, because now it has become criminal. These are using very sophisticated guns. So now we're saying, apart from one day, it has become an issue of security. It has become a criminal issue. So we have to put all our efforts together, including using, of course, also the technology that the US has. I don't want to say this because...
Not necessarily the Boy Scouts, however.
The Boy Scouts, the English maybe are a bit... But this manned, also if you can be unmanned, what do we call them? Because when you see...
Drones.
Because when I said drones, then I said the Bambasa talked about drones. But then even the drones, we would want to use them so that, because you know, the areas, they are so vast. You're talking of an area of about Louisiana.
Yes.
How do you man that? So, but with the drones, they are able to be able to see where these poachers are, and then you deploy the helicopters.
And are you using drones already?
No, we are talking about it.
Ah.
Yeah. But these are not military drones. And we don't want those very sophisticated ones, because there's one university, Maryland here, that they are researching on those drones which you can be able to operate very easily. Even myself, I can. Right. So this is what I think we want, those ones which are really adaptable to our condition.
And finally, believe it or not, actually finally, I just wondered what it's like for an ambassador working in Washington, D.C.
Yes, I'm glad that is the final. No, I mean, I must say this is this is the world capital. Right. Yeah, for any ambassador to be appointed an ambassador to the United States and based in Washington, I think is one of the most privileged position for any ambassador to be. And it's good also that our leaders attach great importance of this country. So when you are an ambassador here, one, you have a lot high expectation. High expectation from your leader who deployed you to Washington, but also while on the ground, this country, is so big.
Right.
This is, you are just talking of, you talk of states, but these are like countries. So how you'll be able to deliver, to reach out, and be effective, be able to have a voice among so many voices, because you have about 190 plus countries here, and everybody is trying to get attention, and everyone is targeting almost the same people, the same institutions. So how there's competition. So it's how competitive you are. This is why I seize every opportunity where I could be able to have my voice heard, and through diplomatic connection is one of them. So I gave this time. We like connectors be our voice.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to be of help.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
We appreciate it.